Today's commercial concrete floor applications demand more than ever before. The ProSlab steel fiber reinforced floor system is a game changer. ProSlab floors are more cost-effective, offer up to 85% fewer joints, are virtually flat, eliminating the problems associated with curling, and provide a future-ready, low-maintenance concrete floor. As the trends toward automated and robotic retrieval systems increases, conventionally designed concrete floor systems simply can't keep up.
The robot only has about a 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch clearance on the floor. If there's joints that are curled, the robot can get caught on the curled joint and stopping production and having somebody have to come out and take care of the situation. So the less joints obviously are a better platform for the robotics to work.
The ProSlab extended joint floor systems provide a flat, smooth, virtual curl-free floor with up to 85% fewer joints. A conventionally designed floor will have joints every 12 to 15 feet. With a ProSlab, floor joints can be spaced to 50 feet or more.
In our warehouse distribution market, joints are the enemy.
By using our extended joint method, either going to one column, which would say 50 feet, or double columns 100 feet, we're not eliminating feet of joint, we're eliminating miles of joints.
Fewer joints mean less joint maintenance, less wear on equipment, and far greater usable maximum load area.
With reducing the number of joints, you have less edge loading such that you can worry less about location of rack posts, equipment loads, wheel loads, etc.
The maintenance is not only with the joint itself, but also the equipment that runs over that joint. And the material handling equipment, or the forklifts that run across these joints, is getting more and more sophisticated.
The hard phenolic wheels are very expensive to replace. So the faster they wear out, the more expensive their maintenance issues become. And it also creates the ability for the truck to run at full speed as opposed to a reduced speed, which increases the throughput of the production facility.
Installation of ProSlab floors takes less time and costs about the same as standard rebar or wire mesh reinforced floors.
In the construction industry, time is money. And the time it takes them to set the mesh or the rebar, we could have poured the slab. So it basically cuts your time down in half.
One of the biggest problems with concrete floor systems is curling of the slab at the joints, which leads to concrete deterioration, wear on equipment, and greater maintenance costs. The ProSlab floor system, using our proven design and installation methodology, delivers a virtual curl-free floor and with up to 85% fewer joints, superior long-term performance.
With longer joint spacings, the slabs tend to curl less because they lay down flatter. The weight of the slab helps keep that curling to a minimum.
With the fork truck riding over the joint and impacting the unevenness of the curl, it starts to deteriorate and break off the concrete, and then it's just a matter of time for the degradation of the joint itself.
ProSlab's performance is achieved through higher fiber count and even dispersion of the steel fibers throughout the entire concrete slab.
You don't want a ball of fibers over in this area here and then have nothing over in area B here where we need to carry another load, and now we don't have the even dispersion, which could lead to eventual crack migrating and post-crack.
The steel fiber reinforcing, it provides a 3D reinforcement of the concrete matrix, whereas steel mesh or steel reinforcing bars only provide a 2-dimensional layer.
We have 8,000 fibers per pound, so our probability of intercepting a crack when it's a micro crack is much better than having one piece of wire fabric or rebar going across that slab. The crack goes right past the rebar like a hot knife through butter. Well, we intercept the cracks when they're micro cracks. They haven't built up that energy, and that's why we can stop them.
Let's compare ProSlab with traditional rebar or wire mesh reinforced floors. Rebar and wire mesh floors take more time and labor to install, and the steel is often not at the correct depth in the slab. They have far more joints, far more curling, and result in greater joint and equipment maintenance costs.
Wire mesh, and especially light gauge, really does nothing for the performance of the slab. All it does is give the owner a perception that he's got a reinforced floor, and it's a marketing tool, in my opinion.
Rebar comes in 20-foot lengths, or the mesh comes in 4x8 sheets, and you got to work with it. We have a lot more flexibility, and we can control those micro cracks.
The problem we find with the rebar is we don't know after the concrete is struck off where it winds up. Could it have moved? Could it have raised? Could it have lowered? It's an image we can't reproduce, so we don't know where it's at.
Traditional reinforcing, as far as mat, structural mats, rebar, wire mesh, all need to be placed, all need to be chair supported, need to be laid out, very labor intensive. So there is a substantial savings on the back end in regards to the labor. So it is definitely more cost effective with the ProSlab system.
There are other fiber reinforced solutions out there, including different types and sizes of steel and plastic fibers. ProSlab uses only steel fibers manufactured in America to exacting specifications to deliver optimal performance.
There's nothing better for preventing cracks than fibers.
There are many fibers that are used in slab reinforcing on the market today, primarily steel fibers or synthetic fibers.
We use CFS Type 2 fibers because that is where we've had the most success.
Our fiber is much easier to mix and finish than longer fibers, because the longer fibers have a tendency to want to ball up in the mix.
There's no balling with the 1-inch long fibers, and they don't float to the surface and cause us blemishes or deterioration of the surface. In the big picture, would you rather have your concrete floor being protected by a piece of plastic or a piece of steel?
With the elasticity of a synthetic fiber, it's going to stretch across a crack that's formed and not really hold it together, whereas a steel fiber will help hold a crack together because of its strength.
ProSlab has been installing these floor systems for over 20 years. By combining superior engineering, expert installation, and precision manufactured steel fibers, there is simply no better flooring system available today.
We do a complete design build, so we know all the characteristics of the concrete that we're going to use to be able to develop a specification and a strategy for the ProSlab floor.
We can go back to floors that have been in place for, in my particular instance, 19 and 20 years, that they're the same floor flatness now as they were when they were initially put in. So it's much easier, less expensive, and everything to do it right the first time, instead of coming back and trying to fix it. And even when you fix something, it's never as good as if it was done right from the start.